All right, thank you everyone for coming today. My name's Zach Angelini. I'm a civil and environmental engineering master's candidate at UNH, and I was a sustainable product intern at Timberland this summer. So I want to start by discussing my perspective of Timberland's theory of change, which I developed over the course of this internship. So some of you may or may not know that the textile industry actually causes the second largest environmental impacts out of any other industrial sector, surpassed only by the fossil fuel industry. So this fact just clearly shows that if footwear and apparel companies in the industry don't act in a sustainable manner, they can have some severely negative effects on the environment and society as a whole. And so this is something that Timberland is working to address. So to do this, they begin with gaining a comprehensive understanding of the impacts that their business can have. With this knowledge, they work to incorporate best sustainable practices into all levels of the organization, from the emissions of their supply chain partners all the way to the lifestyles of their employees. But going beyond just minimizing impacts, they also work to pursue business opportunities that can lead to real environmental and social benefits, often showing that social and environmental sustainability can go hand in hand with financial sustainability. So then by proving the business case for sustainability, they're able to get other brands within the industry to take notice and follow suit. Specifically, they engage with cross-brand organizations like the Sustainable Apparel Coalition and the Outdoor Industry Association in order to share their efforts and challenges there and lead the industry as a whole into a more sustainable direction. So I was able to contribute to some of Timberland's goals this summer by performing life cycle assessments on multiple footwear and apparel products. So life cycle assessment is a technique that's used to quantify the environmental impacts associated with all stages of a product's life from cradle to grave. And so what's meant by cradle to grave is that you're looking all the way back at the extraction of raw materials that go into the product, the processing and manufacturing stages in order to make the product, the use of the product, and finally the end of life or disposal of that product. And so with this information, I performed hotspot analyses in order to identify which specific stages of these products were having the largest environmental impacts so that efforts for improvement could be prioritized and targeted to those stages. I also did impact comparisons, so just seeing how different design alternatives led to an end result of environmental impact for the product as a whole. So just to go over some of the more broad or interesting results that we found, this graph here shows the water consumption associated with each stage of manufacturing of a typical apparel fabric. And so what you can see here is that the fiber production stage led to by far the greatest amount of water consumption. So in order to address water consumption most effectively, this would really be the stage to focus on. And some alternatives that we looked into were things like switching from conventional farming practices to either organic farming practices or Better Cotton Initiative regulated practices, which showed that these changes could lead to really significant water reduction within this stage, and which also translated to significant reductions over the life cycle as a whole. Now in terms of greenhouse gas emissions, we saw here that the spinning and weaving stages led to the highest impacts there, and this was mainly due to the fact that these are really energy-intensive stages of production. And so different alternatives that we looked into there were things like switching from weaving to mechanized knitting, which would actually reduce the energy usage by about 20-fold and in turn lead to far less greenhouse gas emissions. So now for the assessment that I did on Timberland footwear, this graph here shows a breakdown of the greenhouse gas emissions associated with the different components that go into one of Timberland's rubber compounds used in their footwear. So the interesting finding here was that you can see there's these two bars representing the natural rubber component. The green bar is the impacts of the natural rubber component under the scenario that deforestation of tropical forests did not occur as a result of that natural rubber production. The yellow bar represents the scenario in which deforestation of tropical forests did occur as a result of producing that rubber. So we found that this is an extremely important factor, and so it's extremely important to make sure that the rubber is sourced responsibly, as this has a really significant effect on the end results. You can see either being the most sustainable option or by far the least sustainable option. So just some takeaway messages from this. By performing life cycle assessments, Timberland is able to identify the areas of their business that has the most significant impacts and then find ways to innovate in order to address those. And then by participating in cross-brand organizations, they're able to share their efforts and challenges and really lead the industry as a whole in a much more sustainable direction. So I just want to thank Colleen Vienne and Jill Holt, who are here today, as well as Ben Bowers and the rest of the CSR team at Timberland for providing me with this really awesome opportunity to apply everything I've learned through my engineering academic career in a really interesting and what I felt to be meaningful way within the footwear and apparel industry. And I'm really excited to announce that I was hired on for a full-time position as the Associate Manager of Environmental Stewardship.